All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mindgasms. Wait, not Mindgasms anymore. Philosophy Bro. I am the Philosophy Bro, of course, and I'm going to start my series on the book called Assholes, a Theory by the philosopher Aaron James. And this one is about the section in which he discusses the possibility that assholes can be a force for good and that they can accomplish good things with negative and harmful methods, perhaps. So we'll get into that a little bit here. And he uses the example of General Macarthur during World War II, his asshole nature supposedly ensuring that Japanese reconstruction was carried out in a proper way after World War II. And I guess General MacArthur wanted to help Japan rebuild after the U.S. and the Allies bombed the fuck out of it. But anyway, let's get into the paragraph here. Having defined what it is to be an asshole, we now consider who qualifies. Our general definition. So he got into the definition earlier, I should say. I like basically, to paraphrase, he defines an asshole as someone who is like mean to people and seems to, and it's weird that they can get away with it in this world and people accept them being an asshole. And that's actually one of the conditions on which people accept them. If you do useful things, I mean, obviously there are plenty of assholes who are useless too, but them being useful and perhaps accomplishing good things is one reason why people excuse them. Anyway, so we now consider who qualifies as an asshole. Our general definition will not by itself name names. It leaves to us the delicate job of investigating assholes in their particularity. A theory seeks not to defame, but rather to taxonomize, that is, to build a moral typology in the style of Aristotle and the biological sciences he eventually inspired. Yes, we're not judging the assholes here. We're we're merely taxonomizing the assholes. We're classifying the assholes into different subspecies of assholes and building a moral typology on the taxonomy of assholes that Aristotle inspired. Of course, the earliest philosophers were also basically scientists before science existed rather, right? And Aristotle wasn't a scientist and he was a philosopher, but he was what a scientist was before scientists existed. And the early kind of proto science that he and other philosophers did in philosophy inspired what eventually became science. Anyway, Aristotle and biological sciences he eventually inspired. Given the teeming asshole ecosystem, I like that term. Given the teeming asshole ecosystem laid before us in history and public life, our task is to identify the best specimens and classify them according to their kinds. So we must taxonomize the different subspecies of assholes, as I said, right? Judge not. To classify is to judge, apparently, according to some people. Public figures voluntarily submit their candidacy for assholehood to the court of public opinion. Yet we might worry, is it our place to judge? Does respect for a moral equal, even an asshole equal, require that we judge not? Now that assumes that you do have respect for an asshole equal rather, for example, the example that he's about to use, General MacArthur, ensuring the guiding the early reconstruction of Japan during after in the aftermath of World War II. But that's also assuming that basically judging also entails, or I mean, taxonomizing rather automatically entails judging. And I guess it depends on what people mean by judge. Like you have to make judgments, which is why everyone discriminates whether we want to or not. even if it's not in a not in any sort of psychologically negative way. You're not actually judging them in your minds. We have to make judgments to make decisions like, do I like red more than blue? Does this person look trustworthy? There are countless examples, right? Um, and then also the assumption that taxonomizing assholes and classifying them is inevitably being an asshole. What does it lead to? Oh yeah, I'm going to finish this bit here. In judging that someone is an asshole, do we effectively appoint ourselves to a high court, itself an asshole move? So is it an asshole move to judge someone as an asshole? Well, obviously this begs many questions, right? So this idea that judging anything is is a bad idea is like this common straw man of postmodernism from or so-called postmodernism of people like Foucault and Derrida, from public intellectuals who strawman all the time, like Jordan Peterson specifically, and many others like Helen Pluckrose, James Lindsay, Ben Shapiro, Sam Harris, and plenty of others. So that's a strawman of postmodernism, moral relativism, that you're being an asshole if you judge someone to be an asshole, of course. And then, of course, also, we need other people to judge. We need the court of public opinion to judge who actually qualifies as an asshole, because you have to ask that old expression or old question, right? Am I the asshole? Because if you're not an asshole, you would probably ask whether you are an asshole and try to be kind to others. And then if other people think you're being an asshole, then you would want to try to not be an asshole, right? So I think we can judge people to be, the court of public opinion rather can judge people to be assholes. And of course, individuals can be wrong about how much or less people are assholes or whether people are assholes or not. But then generally, like in the so-called court of public opinion, there are people on whom the majority of people agree are assholes. Like I don't know, I don't know, like whether you love or hate Trump, for example. Probably even most of the big Trump supporter fans agree that he's an asshole, and that's one of the reasons he got elected the first time, right? Because he's so blunt and he doesn't talk in political speak. So they wanted a genuine person, even if he was a genuine asshole. But anyway, so let me continue the paragraph here. Actually, this is the next paragraph. Okay. So, in judging that someone is an asshole, do we in effect appoint ourselves to a high court, itself an asshole move? Is it an asshole move to judge someone to be an asshole, like I said, right? Not necessarily. If our theory is right, there exists a certain type of moral personality, and it is an objective matter of fact who is or who is not a person of that moral kind. So he's going even farther, saying you can make an objective moral evaluation as to who qualifies as a moral asshole, who is a moral behaving assholishly, morally speaking. To classify someone as an asshole is not necessarily to swear at him, you're an asshole, but rather to represent him as the asshole he is, to understand why they're an asshole and what type of an asshole they are, right? It, if only for the sake of understanding who the assholes are as distinct from everyone else. It's good to know who the assholes are, right? So it's good to know what an asshole is, how we identify an asshole, and how assholes are different from so-called regular people, right? We didn't even ultimately disapprove. Like he was saying before, you can admire someone who is an asshole. Yeah, you can respect you can respect an asshole if they're a moral equal, but they have their negative methods lead to positive consequences, right? So where was I? To classify someone as an asshole is not necessarily to swear at him, but rather to represent him as the asshole he is, if only for the sake of understanding who the assholes are as distinct from everyone else. We needn't even ultimately disapprove. We might take General Macarthur to be an asshole, for example, famous general during World War II, of of course, and he was largely responsible for the invasion of Japan, especially during the later part of the war. There are other details, but that's all that matters, I think. We might take General MacArthur to be an asshole, for example, And oh yeah, I forgot to mention I have a picture of Einstein in the title there because he also apparently was notoriously an asshole, but he was at least apparently a genius. And theory of science and, and gravity and physics, we don't know how where the hell those would be without him. I'm assuming, although I do believe in that the concept of genius is kind of a myth, so maybe others would have picked up the slack. But anyway, I interrupted myself there. Uh, we might take General MacArthur to be an asshole, for example, and yet find the world better on balance because of him, just like Einstein, right? Perhaps Japan would not have developed as successfully as it did after World War II had MacArthur not guided the early reconstruction with a sure, if heavy hand. Now, I didn't know that example until this book. I've read other details to do with his specific history during World War II, but I didn't know that. So I'm not sure the extension to which is that is true or anything like that. So if you happen to know the history, let me know in the comments. Anyway, if perhaps MacArthur's asshole nature and the deferential Japanese culture, those two combinations, were an especially fortunate match. Perhaps, all told, MacArthur was a force for good. That's why this video has that title, Can Assholes Be a Force for Good? Because it seems like if what this author is saying is true, what is his name? Aaron Jones, I believe. I have that in the description of the video here. I guess his name doesn't really particularly matter. Oh, Aaron James. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, basically you could argue that MacArthur rather, who is an asshole who was a for good for the world, and we can arguably think of plenty other examples throughout human history, right? Einstein to name one of very few. Probably most people would agree until over the past, I don't know, year or two when Elon Musk bought Twitter that he was probably a force for good with SpaceX and Tesla and that kind of stuff, sending people to Mars and making electric cars and stuff. And then he decided to go all political and clownish and buy Twitter and stuff, regardless of what you think of his political opinions. Anyway, lots of people can be assholes, but be a force for good in the world too. Like, well, Steve Jobs, I guess, depending on whether you think the iPhone is a force for good in the world or not. But there's some good aspects that came out of that anyway. But yeah, can assholes be a force for good in the world? I think they can. I think that's one of the reasons why those shows with assholes who are geniuses appeal to me. Like House, for example, he's a genius doctor, but he's an asshole. And Sherlock Holmes, especially in the movies and TV shows, much more so than the original stories and books. But there are plenty of examples of assholes who accomplish good goals, both in fiction and in real life. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think assholes can be a force for good? If not, why not? And if you do, why do you think assholes can be a force for good in the world? And give me some examples. All right, thanks everyone for watching. I think I've said enough about this section of the book. Look forward to future videos on it. Look forward to my last ones. Check out my click that bell to be notified when I come out with new videos. Smash the like button, make sweet love to it, elbow drop it, whatever you want to do, as long as you press it. And yeah, a lot of people watch the videos but don't subscribe, so please do so. And yeah, click that bell to be notified when I come out with new videos. Check out my last one, which was a clip on my favorite post-structuralist philosopher, Michel Foucault's direct quote that government is the only fatal form of power, which totally goes against the straw man of people like Peterson and plenty of others like James Lindsay and others, that he was literally a Marxist, right? So check that out. And then I have another clip coming out tomorrow about the Hegelian slash Lacanian slash Marxist philosopher Slavoj Žižek's a video of him talking about Marx's theory of alienation, and that it was actually perhaps actually definitely a good thing in his opinion. So check that out as well. And like I always say, most importantly, always remember this: the funk cures all, and groove is in the heart, and philosophy is awesome, and assholes suck, but maybe they can be a force for good in the world. All right, thanks again, everyone, and adios until next time.